Well, we're halfway through the year. That's absolutely insane to think about. And I wanted to give an update when it comes to stock trading for this year, because if you're not aware, I've made several videos about this. Going to expand upon that just for this year primarily, but back in 2018, 2017 or so, maybe I started investing for like long term, and then probably late 2019 or something, I started to go into like learning about stock trading. Trading as in you buy it and you sell it in a short time frame, whether that be, it could be a few months, it could be a few weeks, it could be a few days, or it could be within the same day. Sometimes within 5 minutes, you will make a certain percentage of however much it is. So this year alone, so let me tell you this. When you're learning these skills, you cannot expect to learn them in a small period of time. I've watched so many educational resources, and I've pretty much narrowed them down to basically there's like one extremely helpful resource, and there's another group that I watch people trade and everything. You just learn some things here and there, and I've learned a lot of various things, because initially it's like you don't know what you're doing. It's like, oh, look at the price of this stock. You buy it. Oh, look, it went up a little bit. Sell it. You don't have any sort of rules in place. So I've basically, last year 2023 was the year that I have figured out the best thing for me, like the best type of trading that ends up working out for me. And then this year, primarily I would say up until basically like the halfway point, solidifying my rules. So it's like, okay, these are the rules that I have. This is what I'm going to stick to no matter what. And I'm going to follow my plan to a T, and I'm not going to deviate from that. Okay, that has basically been what this year has been. And this year has shown me a lot of crazy stuff, because I stick to the rules exactly as is, but then something happens that makes me think, oh wait, that wasn't accounted for in my plan. It's like something like you didn't think about. Something just comes up that you didn't really think about that ends up coming up. So basically this year has been, I would say, let's say, so for the first 3 months, January, February, and March, those were very, very profitable months. I was sticking to my plan. I was learning lessons, so there was moments that I wasn't breaking the plan, because for the most part, it's extremely rarely that I end up breaking the plan. It maybe happens like once a month. So it's not often. Okay? So regardless, I was sticking to my plan, but certain things happen that I don't have in my plan, or I don't have a certain rule set that I have to go, oh, that needs to go into my plan. It's like, if this happens, I don't have a rule of what I do in response to something that happens there. So that's basically what has led me to create my rule set here. And I need to print this back out, because I've added more since I've printed this. But these are the rules that I follow. These are the rules that I follow every single day. So sometimes I don't really even need to look at this, because it is all like second nature. It's all within my mind. But I will look at this. And if there's something that's a bit iffy, like maybe I have set up something, it's something that happens that's relatively rare. So I'll look at it and go, let me see what my rules say about this. It's like, okay, I see. All right, and then I'll follow that. I'll listen to what I have for the rule set. And you can't deviate from that, because it's about consistency, being very consistent with your plan. Because if you're not consistent, you're not going to see the results. Because if you're doing the same thing every day and you're constantly seeing positive results, and then you start to deviate from that, and then things become sporadic, and then you're like, well, this isn't working out for me anymore. I'm going to add in another major rule, and I'm going to change this. And then you start changing stuff, and then you end up deviating from your standard, and that happens. The thing you got to remember is that you're going to have losers no matter what. It doesn't matter what your win rate is. And this is kind of what I wanted to get into also for this year. So I mentioned the first 3 months were very, very profitable for me. Learning lessons as well. Even though I lost, you know, on, I would say the win rate was about maybe 60% for like the first 3 months. So that means for every 10 trades, there would be 6 winners and 4 losers. But how you manage it is that your losers should never be as large as your winners, which means how I have my plan set is that if you have a full winner will overcome 2 full losers, okay? So if my risk is $100 and I lose 2 times in a row, that's negative $200. One win would be equivalent to $200. So one win will get rid of 2 losers, okay? Now, of course, you know, there are fluctuations, different things happen. Things may not always go like to your full winner. It could go a little bit to your winning target. But regardless, the thing was, the first 3 months were very, very good, despite, you know, having plenty of losses that have taught me things. And then comes April. And for whatever reason, this is what happened. I would say there was like economic numbers that came out at the end of March or something. And that's when the stock market started to decline. And suddenly, I was literally losing so many days in a row that it was absolutely insane. It was like, normally before with like a 60% win rate, you know, maybe you would end up, you could win like 3 or 4 times in a row. You could end up winning a little more, or you could end up losing, you know, probably at most it was like 3 or 4 days in a row max that I would end up losing. It's like, okay, you know, it is what it is. All of a sudden, April comes around and it's just everything reverses course. Where I think there was 12 losers in a row. And that was absolutely insane. And it literally brought my win rate down from like 60 down to like 44%. And I'm just like, what do I do here? Because it's literally, it was like a whole month and a half of just constant losing. And I'm just like, I have not changed anything. I have not altered my plan in any sort of way. There's nothing that I'm really missing here. But for whatever reason, everything is just not working out. Like it starts to work out, like, you know, you buy it and then it starts to go up a little bit and then it immediately just goes down, and it goes down so hard and so fast that it's like, what? You know? So, you know, and then I started to solidify a few more rules. I started to expand, you know, the type of trading that I've been doing. And, you know, I would say pretty much at the beginning of June is when things started to kind of come back. It's like April was really, really bad. May was a lot better. It was more like a break-even thing. It was like you had plenty of winners, you had plenty of losers, but it wasn't really there. It was just kind of like that. You know, it wasn't like January, February, March, which were very, very good. April was horrible, and then May was is basically like a break even. And then June, like half of June was also kind of like that, and then things started to kind of change towards like the end of June. And it's just like, I don't know what happened at the end of March with the economic numbers, the inflation data, all this sort of stuff, you know, all that sort of stuff, and then everything just like went sour. So now the things that I have in place, the types of rules that I have in place, because I altered them because it's like I'm looking at the trades that I'm making that are losing, and I'm saying, you know, maybe if there are certain things that are kind of bad about this particular stock, like if I have a checklist and there's like, let's say there's 1 or 2 things that are negative about the stock, but everything else is very positive. Everything else looks very good about it. If there's one thing that I don't like about it that's a negative, then I'm only going to use 1/3 of the amount of shares that I normally would. So if I'm going to take 100 shares on something. And if everything, looks good, it looks perfect, and there's nothing bad about it, it'll be the full 100 shares. If there's something that's kind of negative about it, regarding, what says on my plan here. I'm not going to go into, too much details about what that negative thing is. If there's one thing negative about it, then I reduce the amount of shares to 1/3. Meaning, instead of 100, I would take 33. So I'm literally reducing my risk at that point, because there is a slightly higher probability that it's not going to work. It could still work, it may still work, but it's less of a probability. And then this is something newer that I've also added as well to prevent a lot of these losses, is that if there's two things that are negative, and on here I have 3 things listed that are considered negative in my book. If there's 2 things that are negative, I don't touch it. I do not touch it at all. So, and I think some of those losers that I was having in April, it was like there was one thing that was kind of bad about it, so I would still take on the full shares because I did not have that rule in place. Or there could have been a few things like, yeah, this one, there's like this and that bad about it, but everything else looks so good, everything else looks really amazing, it's not that big of a deal, but it ends up being really bad. So those would be ones that I wouldn't trade at all. So overall, I guess what I'm saying is, at the end of this, when it comes to this year, I would want to say that my rules are finalized, but I don't think that they ever really are finalized. You know what I mean? You're always adding to them. You're always tweaking them ever so slightly to, maximize what you have here. That's basically what you're doing. So for me, so far, this has been working very, very well. I'm still technically, like, even with how bad April was, and some of May being like break even and everything, it's still been profitable this year. Like, I would say I think even last year was profitable, but it was I would call maybe last year maybe like kind of break even, because if it was profitable, it was very slightly. It's like, it's not much, but that was still when I was finalizing the rules. Whereas years prior to that, it was negative. It's like you lost in total for the year. It's not much because I'm not putting much risk on, but now I'm starting to increase that risk. So far this year is the most profitable year despite the nasty April. And it's really nice when, like, you have one winning trade that is like full target, full shares, everything looks perfect about it, and you win. And it takes out, I want to say it took out like 6 losing trades, because this is when I was doing like the 1/3 shares. So that would mean 3 1/3 shares equals to 1 full negative stock, 1 full negative trade. So that means that would be 6 losing trades of 1/3 shares, completely gone by 1 winning trade that was full target and everything. So it's like, wow. So if you want more details specifically when it comes to these rules, you want me to explain them, be sure to let me know. I will certainly talk more about that if you're interested in that. I don't know how many people are interested in it, to be completely honest with you, but if you are interested, I will make a video going into detail, showing you examples, showing you certain things here and there, if you're interested. So let me know. So y'all take care, have a great one, and I will catch you later. I'll make another update probably at the end of the year, maybe. Total. Yeah, we'll see. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.